Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Laughing Through the Pain podcast. I'm your host, Elinor.
I'm Marianne.
And today's episode is going to be a little different than normal. What are we doing today, Marianne?
Well, recently, I was going through some old files, just getting some spring cleaning done, and I came across a story that I happened to write in high school. So this was probably, oh my gosh, like 14 years ago, I would say 14 years ago. Yeah. I was a sophomore. I was obsessed with Twilight. I was in that Twilight role-playing group. It was nuts. So all that to say, I'm a writer. I've been writing since I learned how to pick up a pencil. And I used to write really crappy, mediocre love stories about vampires and werewolves, apparently. I don't even remember the name of this one.
Yeah, I asked her right before we started what the title was, and she was like, I
don't know. I remember that I had a purple notebook, and I wrote this by hand originally.
Oh my gosh.
So I would work on it, like, in the middle of my classes. I remember the purple notebook, and I wrote a lot of it by hand, and then I started typing it up. Don't know what happened to the notebook. It's a shame. I would love to go back and just cringe at my 14-year-old self, you know? But yeah, maybe you can help me come up with a title for it as we go. Are we ready for the dramatic reading?
What's the premise of the story before we kind of get started?
That's a great question. It is about a vampire girl who comes from a vampire family, and they have to enroll at this high school because one of the vampire sisters, aunts, whoever, had a vision, Alice Cullen Much, that there was going to be this vampire werewolf showdown in the middle of the cafeteria.
Okay.
So the vampires went to the school to check out what was going on. And meanwhile, and I actually really like this concept, the male main character, Austin, who is named after the guy that I liked at the time. Huh. You know, he was a senior and I was a sophomore. His name was Austin. So definitely named it after him. He was a hybrid, a vampire werewolf hybrid. So
That's like, so it reminds me of Vampire Diaries.
Oh, I've never seen Vampire Diaries.
It's like in like season 7. So if you watch Vampire Diaries and you're not in season 7, I'm sorry.
You're like, spoiler alert. But I really like that idea because it's like, he's not wanted by the vampires and he's not wanted by the werewolves. So he's just like an outcast in all aspects. So her name is Violet because of course her name is Violet and his name is Austin.
What do you mean, of course her name is Violet?
Because it's such a stereotypical emo character name. Violet. Alright, here we go.
Okay. I kind of want to, like...
You want to read along?
Yeah.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it since I don't know anything about it.
Sweet! Oh, this will be fun.
Let's see. On that cool, windy autumn morning, Violet and Kara Sang walked through the doors of the Westcliff High School. Nobody knew it, but the girls were on a mission. It was up to them to search this area to find their greatest enemy before a huge war broke out, doing both species involved. Are you sure we'll find them here? Violet inquired, pushing her long black hair from her face. Violet was the quiet, sarcastic Sang sister. She hated it when people forced her to do things, especially things she didn't want to do. But she was still respectful and obedient.
Oh, she hated being told what to do, but she did it anyway.
Apparently.
Oh my gosh. I'm already, I can't.
She had a kind, sensitive side, but mostly only towards her family and close friends. She had long, ebony hair and sapphire eyes.
N.O.B.
N.O.B. hair.
N.O.B. hair.
This is where Katrina's vision took place, isn't it? Yeah, Violet said. That doesn't necessarily mean the dogs will be here, though. Do you want to be whoever this one is? And then I can be Violet.
Oh, I'll be Kara.
Okay.
Okay.
So, this right here.
Did you read this part?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Down to, they will be here.
Okay. They will be here. Maybe not now, but eventually. There's no doubt. Stop being so down, Vi.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be. It's just having to deal with all these pathetic mortals.
Of course. Good Lord. I know how you feel about mortals, and I know you're not the biggest fan of school on Earth. None of us are, Kara grinned, but Katrina said we shouldn't be here long.
I hope she's right. The girls walked down the long, crowded hallway and headed into the cafeteria. There, they sighted their other sister, Lily, waiting for them at the table. Hey, guys, Lily said, smiling at her sisters as they took a seat beside her. She was the third sang child, the gentle... What? Wait. She was the third sang child, the gentle, but at the same time, bouncy one of the three. The way you phrased that is weird.
I know.
Like, what happened? She was outgoing, but not nearly as much as Kara, and very intelligent. She had short, very dark red, almost brown hair, and ivy eyes.
Ivy
What
eyes.
kind of... Why did you describe it like that?
I remember, for every story I used to write, I would say she had blank hair and blank eyes.
Uh-huh.
It was just in the character description, which you're not supposed to do. It's show, don't tell. Oh my gosh. Hey, Lily, Kara said.
Lily.
Lily.
Hey, Lily, can you tell me something? Violet asked. Sure, no problem, Lily answered. Can you tell me the vision again? I don't think Katrina was specific enough last night. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. Sure, Katrina said that... Oh my god. Not that, it's the...
The...
It's not bad.
That's the name of the episode. It's not that, it's the...
Sure, Katrina said the war would be in this building, right here in the cafeteria. An army of werewolves will be on one side, and the vampire army will be on the other. What?
Sure.
Why the school cafeteria of all places?
I don't know.
Like, at least the war in Twilight, like the battle between the vampires and the other vampires and the werewolves, was just like in some random field. It wasn't like, there's a war in the school.
It was in nature.
Like a school of all places.
Oh my
What
gosh.
the heck? Leave it to the werewolves to start up another huge battle, Violet said with a sigh. She said she wasn't sure when exactly it would take place, but she knew it was very soon.
Soon. We need to find those werewolves before it's too late, Kara said.
Lily and Violet both agreed. A loud bell, the first warning bell, then sounded. What?
Yeah, we had warning bells at my high school. So we had 2 bells before every class. It was the warning bell, which means get your butt to class. And then a regular bell that means class has started, you're now tardy.
Ah!
Yep.
Interesting. I didn't go to public school. Lily stood up. We better head to our first class, she said.
Yeah, Kara answered. We don't want to give the impression we're terrible students on our first day. I'll see you guys later.
Later, Kara, Lily said. See you later, Violet said. Kara waved and strode off in the direction of her classroom. Lily turned to Violet. You ready, Vi? She asked. I guess so, Violet answered. I mean, going to this school is a major drag, but I guess it's worth it. Stopping those wolves and maintaining the peace between the vampires and the dogs. That's the spirit, Violet. Well, I better go. I'll see you later, okay? Okay. Lily walked off. Violet sighed and thought as she walked down the hallway. Just the whole way down. As she's just like constantly... Sounds like Just like a zombie.
Sighing the whole way down.
Let's hope this searching gets us somewhere. X.
I remember that. I would do the squiggle line and then the X and then the squiggle line to break up my scenes.
I always just do like a small dash.
Yeah, I do that now too. Or I use like symbols because Microsoft Word has icons that you can put in, like basic icons. So I'll put like a heart or something.
Nice. 15 minutes later, Violet was sitting bored in her English class. She was sitting alone in the back of the room writing, "Vampires rule! Werewolves suck!" all over her purple notebook with a permanent... ... marker.
Yep, purple notebook.
Occasionally, someone would turn and look at her. Violet would simply glare at them, and they would know to look away. The teacher, Miss Hatters, then clapped to get the students' attention. Class, if you didn't already know, we have a new student joining us this year. All eyes went back to Violet. She tried to glare at the staring students, but it was hard glaring at 25 kids at once.
Can you imagine she tries? She's like,
I just imagine her like looking super angry, like, what the heck are you trying to do? Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? Miss Hatters asked. No, Violet thought, her rebellious and slightly shy side kicking in.
Imagine being rebellious but also shy. Like, what?
I also like that you described it in the sentence.
Yeah.
You didn't like describe her emotions really. You're just like, her shy side kicked in.
Yep. That's, again, it's telling, not showing.
Yep.
It's frustrating me.
She only shrugged. There's no reason to be shy. Nobody in here will bite. Miss Hatters insisted. Violet smirked and thought, yeah, maybe they won't.
It's kind of clever.
That is kind of clever.
Good job, 14-year-old Marianne.
Reluctantly, she got up and slowly walked to the front of the class. All eyes were still fixed upon her. What's your name? Violet sang. And this is your first day at Westcliff? Duh, have you seen me here before? She thought. Yes. I see. So, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? Violet sighed angrily to herself. This was why she wasn't fond of mortals. I know what hobbies are. You don't have to explain it to me. Do I look stupid? Am I guessing... Wait. And I'm guessing nobody really cares, including you. So why are you even asking? What do you mean? She didn't try to explain what hobbies were. She just asked you what your hobbies are. What the heck? I like to hunt, and that was the truth. Very neat. Thank you. You may sit down. That's it. That's very neat. Cool. All right, now go away.
She's like, oh gosh, another angsty teen. All right, just sit down.
Let's see. Let's see. Very neat. Thank you. You may sit down. I plan to. That was Violet thinking. Violet went back to her seat and crashed in her chair. What do you mean she crashed in her chair?
Just boom.
She just like full on like body slams.
She's an elbow drops the chair. It's not out of Violet's character.
We were supposed to have another new student in here today too. Austin Montoya. Miss Hatters read from her student roster. Oh well.
Oh well. Who cares if a student is missing? I'll be Austin. A half hour after school started, like a rebel, Austin Montoya walked into Westcliff High. Austin was a tall, thin, but muscular guy with long, thick, dark brown hair and chocolate brown eyes. Okay. There it is again, with blank hair and blank eyes. He also had a mission upon entering the school. It was similar to the girls', but also quite different. He walked through the empty hallways, gazing around in confusion. Where was everybody? Was he late?
Yes.
Austin looked at a schedule posted on a wall nearby. Just conveniently there.
Oh, convenient placement.
Sure enough, it read the first class of the day started at 7:45. Crap, he thought, we're really late. May I help you with something? A female staff member was standing right behind him. Austin whirled around, a bit startled, and upon seeing her, stared the woman dead in the eyes. After a second, the woman screamed and ran backwards, clutching her chest and heaving as if Austin was killing her.
What? What the heck is happening?
As he continued to stare, she finally turned around and ran away. Austin smiled. Works every time. So she's not going to report that to anybody.
Oh, yeah. Dude, if I was that, because that's obviously like a staff member, like a teacher or something.
Mm-hmm.
If I was her, I would have been, and like, I don't know, there's a likelihood that like he would be in one of her classes.
You run to the principal.
You'd be like, there's a weird boy, and I felt like I was gonna die, and got freaked out,
That's a panic attack.
What the heck?
His cell phone began to vibrate in his pocket. He whipped it out and answered, "What?"
I'm gonna be like a valley girl for her.
Do it.
Well, someone forgot to take their happy pill this morning.
Austin sighed. It was his sister. Hannah, I'm not in the mood for that.
Why? What happened? I'm annoying myself with this.
I figured out we're half an hour late. School started at 7:45.
Dang, I thought for sure it was 8:45. That's totally my fault. I'm sorry.
That's all right. No big deal. I bet we really didn't miss anything important anyways. Oh, I don't like that. It's anyway, not anyways. Grammatically correct.
Oh, I don't know. I always say, like, anyways.
Technically, like, it's anyway, but, you know, it's interchangeable. Where are you?
I'll be pulling up in about 10 minutes.
Why didn't they just come to school together?
I don't know! If you're related!
Okay, it's too late for me to head to my first class, so I'll just wait for you in the cafeteria.
It's like 8:45. Why are they going to the cafeteria?
I don't know.
Sounds good. See you in a bit, Aussie. Ayo. Why would you call someone named Austin Aussie?
Later. Austin, oh, this dates this story. Austin closed his cell phone shut. Hope we find the vampire soon, he thought. We really can't afford a...
Wait. Wait.
Oh, perfect. Fight right now.
3 hours later, the lunch bell rang.
7:45, 8, 9, 10. So at 10:45, the lunch bell rang? Goodness!
What kind of lunch?
What kind of school?
Violet was stuck in a jam of students who either didn't know how to walk, so they were just standing in the middle of the hallway, or they didn't think anyone else's time mattered. So they insisted on doing their own thing and forced everyone to wait.
I'm projecting here.
Oh, this happened in your school.
The hallways at my school were super narrow, so it took forever to get through them. So I'm definitely projecting here.
Violet tried her best to shove past the slow students on her way to the cafeteria.
Imagine her just like slamming
I just
them
imagine her like, you know, in like every like teen coming of age type movie. And there's always, like, that school bully who, every time he walks by anybody, he just, like, shoulder checks them.
Yeah.
That's what I just picture her doing. It's just, like, shoulder checking. You're like, hiya!
Everybody.
On the other end of the hallway, Austin, too, was... Why did you write it like that?
I don't know why I wrote it.
There's, like, 3 commas in a row.
End of the hallway, Austin, 2, was like, Just say Austin was also.
Or grammar differently.
Just grammar better.
Austin, too, was stuck in the jam while looking for Hannah. Finally, people started to move once teachers came out and screamed at everyone to keep moving. As Violet and Austin passed each other, Austin looked straight at Violet without any control. His eyes just flew straight to her as she walked, and for a second he couldn't look away. It was as if his eyes were locked on her. There's a lot of redundancy.
I know.
And everyone else standing around had frozen. It was a very strange feeling, and eventually he managed to pull himself out of it.
What was that? Austin wondered to himself. Why couldn't I stop staring at that one girl? He eventually pushed the thought aside and continued going. That's so redundant.
Continued going?
Continued going.
He continued going straight forward as he made his way to his classroom.
Sighing down the hallway.
Sighing down the hallway. At the same time, Violet had a strange feeling as well. She had the strongest feeling she was being stared at. She tried to ignore it, but it wouldn't go away. Finally, she whirled around, only to find nobody staring at her after all. Weird, she thought. Then she forgot about it and kept walking. People need to learn how to walk, Violet exclaimed, as she sat down at the table with Kara and Lily. I probably spent an hour trying to get through that freaking hallway. It's ridiculous, Violet half screamed.
Mortals are stupid, Kara agreed.
So let's talk werewolves instead, Lily suggested. As if that's a better topic, Violet muttered. You guys find anyone suspicious in the past few hours?
There was a mysterious-looking boy in my history class, Kara admitted. His name was Austin, I believe. He kept giving everyone this freaky stare, and it even freaked the teacher out at one point while he was looking at her. Call the police! Take note!
I mean, she did take note, but they're also vampires, so why would they call the police?
No, the teacher.
Oh, I thought you were talking about them.
Oh no,
or Kara.
The teacher should be like, "Yo, there's a freaky student who's just glaring everywhere. We need to call somebody."
Werewolves do have that gift, Lily noted. That weird stare that scares humans. Either that, or he's just a creepy-looking kid, Violet said with a grin.
What about you, Vi? Kara inquired. You find anyone suspicious looking?
Well, I did see, Violet started, when her eyes suddenly darted to the other side of the room. She then saw Austin sitting at a table with Hannah. Why would you state that he was with Hannah when the character who's talking doesn't know that person?
Yep, exactly. This is limited narration. There's like the omnipresent narrator who knows everything. And then there's I think it's called the limited narrator, which means the narrator, even if it's in a third person, the narrator only knows what the character knows.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is absolutely true. She doesn't know who Hannah is. She doesn't know that that's Austin.
Yeah.
So what the heck?
What the heck, 14-year-old Marianne?
It gets worse.
She also doesn't know Austin's name at this point.
Yeah. So she doesn't know who Hannah is, and she doesn't know who Austin is. It's just, he was probably the most gorgeous being on Earth, Violet imagined. His long dark hair, his deep chocolate eyes.
Ew.
How does she know how close is she to him?
Because wait, what did it say? On the other side of the room.
Yeah, other side of the cafeteria.
I mean, you could probably maybe see that his eyes are brown, but like deep chocolate.
You could see that he has eyes, but that's the extent. His amazing smile. It almost scared Violet how charming he was.
Ew.
This is gross.
The most beautiful guy on this planet, Violet whispered. Lily and Kara's eyebrows rose. What? Lily asked. Violet faced her sisters again. Huh? Oh, nothing. Lily smirked in disbelief. Who are you staring at? Violet looked in Austin's direction again. Probably some hot airhead jock who thinks he's too good for everybody, she sighed.
She sighs a lot. Home.
I love you.
And I miss you. Home. Kara looked at the boy Violet was gawking over, ending a sentence with a preposition. Him? Hey, that's Austin, the mysterious kid from my history class.
That's Austin? Violet asked. He wasn't creepy looking at all. Mysterious, yes, but not creepy. Far from it, actually. If anything, he was hot.
They describe him as mysterious a lot. What is mysterious about him?
I don't even know.
I think that was just the thing when I was in high school, was the mysterious, brooding boy.
I wonder, because you said you wrote this around the time that Twilight was out.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Stephanie Meyer used that to describe Edward a lot of the time.
Probably. Most likely. Yep, that's Austin, Kara said.
Wow, Violet said. He's gorgeous.
Let's just objectify him. Why not?
Oh, he's hot, he's gorgeous, blah, 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 blah. His deep chocolate eyes.
Deep chocolate. I don't understand.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I guess
chocolate.
There's shallow chocolate and then there's deep chocolate. I don't freaking know.
Aw, Violet has a crush, Lily teased. Violet grinned. I don't know, maybe. You didn't even meet him. You don't know anything about him. Come on.
You just learned his name like 2 seconds ago.
But like I said, he's probably one of the super popular guys that every girl in school has their eye on. He literally he's new.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't Kara say that he's new?
He's new. It's his first day.
What the heck?
Calm down.
I'm probably not the only girl in here staring at him. Plus, he's sitting with a girl, she added, looking at Hannah. Probably his preppy girlfriend. Except it's his sister.
Gross.
She was slightly doubtful of this, though, because the two looked a lot alike. Perhaps they're siblings, Violet wondered and hoped.
So she knows her name, but she doesn't know if they're together or if they're siblings. Looking at Hannah.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, she doesn't... I don't think she knows Hannah's name.
She knows nothing. She's dumb.
Lily playfully punched Violet's shoulder. You don't have to worry about him, Vi. He's not who we're here for. Yeah, I guess not, Violet answered. Somehow, though, she knew this boy wasn't leaving her mind for a while.
Ugh. While sitting at lunch, Austin was still pondering the incident from earlier. Who was the girl he had laid eyes on earlier? I hate that sentence.
Why did you phrase it like that?
I hate that
Pondering
sentence.
the incident from earlier. Who was the girl he had laid his eyes on earlier?
Earlier I said twice in 2 sentences.
Why?
I hate it. What was the strange feeling that had taken him over completely, where he hadn't been able to look away from her? Normally, humans didn't give werewolves that crazy sort of feeling. Oh, you mean imprinting?
You imprinted on my daughter?
You imprinted and named her after the Loch Ness Monster?
It was Nessie who wanted me there. Nessie? You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster? She's a baby. Which, honestly,
it's gross.
No fault on Bella for being upset about that.
Yeah, she was totally in the right. What is wrong with you, Stephanie Meyer? Was she even human? Maybe she's like me, Austin thought. A werewolf. Maybe a vampire? What brought you to that conclusion? Maybe she's not human.
Well, he said humans didn't give werewolves that crazy feeling.
So you can't imprint on a human, I guess, in this universe? I don't know. He almost laughed at that insane prediction.
Austin!
Huh? Austin snapped out of his thoughts.
Hannah was staring at him. What is up with you today? She asked. Too deep in thought to focus on anything?
Nothing, he answered.
Liar. Something is up. You've been acting weird all day, even weirder than usual. And that's saying something, brother.
Austin sighed. Why do they always sigh? What is in the air?
Kristen Stewart who?
Eat your heart out, Bella Swan. All right, he said. Something happened while I was on my way here. Something that's never happened before.
Do tell, Hannah urged.
let's say the exact same thing that just happened and repeat it again. Well, I was walking through the halls when I passed by a girl. I took one look at her, and for a little bit, I couldn't look away. Literally. It was like I was locked on her or something. Eventually, she walked away, and I gained control of myself again.
You weren't just staring at her because she was pretty?
No. I mean, she was pretty. In fact, she was beautiful. But I absolutely could not look away.
Maybe it's werewolf hormones kicking in again.
Werewolf hormones? What kind of anatomy?
What kind of hormones?
I hate this. Oh, this is so... all they're doing is objectifying each other. He's hot. Or, he's hot. She's pretty. That's the extent of their relationship so far.
I mean... yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's werewolf hormones kicking in. Hannah teased.
Austin shrugged.
Or maybe... Suddenly, Hannah's eyes widened.
What? Austin asked.
Maybe you got that strange feeling because she's one of the bloodsuckers we're looking for.
Hannah, can't you just call them by their real name? You know I'm one of them, too.
You're only half vampire. You're still 50% pure werewolf. If you're 50%, you're not pure werewolf.
That's not what pure means.
Anyway, fate probably drove you to look at that girl so you would know she's a vampire.
I had that idea earlier, but I thought it was stupid.
Apparently he's stupid if he was like, I'm just gonna brush this off. Right now, anything is possible. You know what? You should keep tabs on her.
What? No way. I'm not going to be a stalker. Besides, I have no idea who she is or where to possibly find her.
What do you mean? You're both in the school until like 2 o'clock.
You go to the same school.
I don't know where to find her even though we're in the same school.
And she's staring at you right now.
I just imagine, like, Violet's just, like, looking at him while they're talking, just like, Or just...
Probably sighing, taking up all the air.
Hannah sighed.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, just a suggestion. Do whatever you want, Aussie.
Austin gazed around the cafeteria, the scene of the predicted war. He wondered if it was possible to seek the vampires out and prevent the hideous scene seen in his grandfather's vision. Okay. Before it was too late, before innocent lives were taken away. As he looked around, Austin sighted the girl from earlier. She was across the cafeteria with 2 other girls. He then noticed they were taking turns looking at him. That was flattering, and at the same time, odd. When the mysterious girl looked his way, Austin tried to look away, but it was too late. He found himself locked in another helpless stare, gazing deep into her eyes, even though she was very far away, and she stared back for a little while. When she finally looked away, Austin was free. What was that? Kara asked.
I'm not sure, Violet said. How come he was staring at me like that? Maybe he likes you too, Lily said, grinning.
Don't even...
Violet smiled. Even though that probably wasn't the case, it was still a nice thought. Violet saw Austin get up and walk out of the cafeteria. Although she flashed a smile at him, he didn't dare look in her direction.
Oh, how awkward.
Austin, are you okay?
Austin looked at Hannah, only sighing in response. Oh my gosh. Stop
Did you see her again? Hannah asked in shock.
Yeah, I'm gonna go now.
Wait, Austin.
But Austin got up and walked away before Hannah could stalk him, not daring
He
to...
could stalk him?
Did I say stalk?
Yeah, you
Before
said...
Hannah could stop him, not daring to look in Violet's direction. He was a bit too worried to take any chances.
After lunch, the Sang sisters split up again and departed into their classrooms.
Departed?
The thesaurus, anybody? Violet slowly walked into her math class. Austin wasn't leaving her mind as she had predicted that he's in the math class. What had happened back there, though? Did he think she was weird or something? Was it wrong she felt this way about a guy she didn't even know? I mean...
I wouldn't say wrong. I would say weird. But...
Yeah. She pushed the door open to her classroom and saw Austin sitting inside.
Oh! What are the chances?
It's so predictable.
It is so predictable. Austin headed into the restroom and walked up to the sink. Cool. He was glad he found himself alone. He looked at himself in the mirror, trying to get his thoughts straight. What was going on with him and this girl? He tried to consider every possibility, including what his sister had said. Just go talk to her. Just go ask her something. What if he saw this girl in this unusual way for a reason? Yeah, that's what we're all wondering by now. What if somehow he was destined to know her? Was she a fellow werewolf or one of the vampires? Yes, we've established this already. Why is it so redundant? It's almost like it was written by a 14-year-old high school student.
I mean, like, this scene makes sense of, like, him pondering who she is because they don't know each other.
It seemed unreal. He kept thinking. Then something else came to mind. What if he was just acting crazy and overreacting? What if this whole time he was worrying and wondering about nothing? That was it. Oh, okay.
Oh, great conclusion.
He sighed in relief and smiled at himself. This was nothing. It was probably just a strange were-vamp stage he was going through. Austin sighed and exited the restroom. It's nothing. Nothing at all, he thought. How he had convinced himself of that lie, he had no idea, but he shrugged it off and headed to his next class. Math! Just math. Not algebra or geometry, pre-calculus, statistics, just math. As Austin entered the room, he realized he was feeling a lot better now. Throughout the day, he had isolated himself in each class, looking at everyone as if they were the vampires he and Hannah were trying to find. Now he felt more open, as if he could actually participate in his classes now. Why would you want to? If you're there just to check out a scene, why would you... Who wants to do homework?
Great question.
As he sat down at his desk waiting for class to start, Austin heard the door open. He turned to see just who had walked inside. It was her, of all people. The beautiful, mysterious girl.
Where's that word again?
She stepped inside the classroom and immediately sighted him and flashed him a smile. Not wanting to seem rude, he smiled back, but then looked away. The feeling he had was nothing. She was nothing. X. Doubt.
She's nothing.
She's nothing.
Yeah, are you sure about that one, Chief? Violet sighed.
Oh my lord!
Oh, come on, people! Better not push it too hard, she thought, as she sat at a desk towards the back of the room. I don't want him to think I'm obsessed.
You are obsessed. Austin looked where she was sitting. He thought, I was certain she would come over here. Oh well, I guess that's a good thing. He knew this was a lie, too. The teacher entered the classroom just as the bell rang. Afternoon, class, Mr. Reynolds said. I would like to welcome our two newest students. Newest? Violet Sang and Austin Montoya. Austin was glad the teacher didn't force them to stand up and introduce themselves. He hated that. He had been forced to do that all day. But now that he felt better and more open, perhaps he wouldn't mind doing it now. So her name is Violet, he thought. Pretty name. Oh my gosh. This is painful.
Violet smiled. Austin Montoya, she thought. He was the other new student who was supposed to be in my English class earlier. So I guess I'm stuck with him a couple of times during the day. Cool!
Austin turned to glance at Violet once again. She smiled at him, and he couldn't help but smile back. She's so beautiful, he thought.
He's so cute! Violet mentally screamed. Almost too cute for a mortal.
Oh my gosh. We're going to begin today with some two-step equations, Mr. Reynolds explained. Everyone except for Austin and Violet groaned.
Please tell me they're not going to bond over, like, a love of math.
Oh, great. These are so simple, Austin thought. What's the big deal? Mr. Reynolds wrote 5x plus 13 equals 38 on the board. Anyone want to take a shot at it? He asked.
Violet looked around. Everyone was staring at the board, looking completely dumbfounded. She rolled her eyes. X equals 5, she thought. Are these people idiots?
Anyone? The teacher asked somewhat desperately.
Violet was about to raise her hand when suddenly Austin's hand shot in the air.
I can do it, he said. Mr. Reynolds' face lit up as he handed Austin the dry erase marker. Go ahead. Austin stood up, walked over to the board, and wrote out the entire problem, eventually getting 5 as his answer. Simple, Austin said, sitting back down. The other kids still looked dumbfounded, there's that word again, but Mr. Reynolds was very pleased. Correct, he explained. Well done! He turned and wrote another problem on the board. This one was a proportion. 4 over 72 equals 18 over x. So I know what I was studying in class.
I was literally just gonna say, I was like, you probably just took stuff from your math books.
Yep.
And used it. And you
It's
probably, I imagine you're just like, look at how good I am at math.
I'm so smart, even though math was literally my worst subject.
You're like, I knew it was 5 the whole time.
The whole time.
I've got this one, Violet thought, standing up. I want to answer this one, she said, already thinking of the answer.
Fantastic, Mr. Reynolds said.
Violet grabbed a dry erase marker and solved the problem in just seconds. X equals 324, Violet declared, circling her answer.
Mr. Reynolds clapped. Wonderful work, he said. Truly amazing. Impressive, Austin said. Violet grinned at him. He grinned back, not noticing he wasn't getting the strange feeling from earlier as he looked at her. Nerd! A boy in the front row coughed. The students around him snickered. Yeah, good one. Violet and Austin both glared at him. Austin's glare had more effect. The boy's eyes widened. Take it easy, man, he said, his voice incredibly shaky. I was just messing around is all. I'm sorry.
What a weenie.
Austin finally let the boy free of his frightening werewolf glare.
Violet was a bit stunned. Why had Austin's glare scared that kid nearly to shock? Only werewolves were known to have that strange gift. Unless... Violet scoffed at the idea. Completely ridiculous, she thought as she took her seat.
You two are going to be excellent students in here, I can predict, Mr. Reynolds said. For solving, the 2 easiest math problems in the world?
Oh, well, obviously, these kids are stupid. If they can't solve, crap like that, come on.
This is, remedial math. The hour went by abnormally fast. Violet waited until everyone left the room to start gathering her things. That's going to make you late for your next class. You shouldn't do that. Austin waited too. He wanted to officially meet this pretty girl. Oh my gosh. It's objectification after objectification. He approached Violet at her desk and asked, "Have we met?" "I don't know, Austin. Have you?"
Violet looked up at him. "I don't think so," she answered, smiling.
"I'm Austin." He stretched his hand out.
"Violet." They shook hands. The second their hands touched was the strangest second either of them have ever encountered before. As soon as they grasped each other's hands, both pairs of eyes squeezed shut as the two of them encountered a vision.
A vision.
Violet saw a dog, really a werewolf, lying on the ground, bleeding heavily and crying out in pain. It was obvious she was very near death. Austin was at her side, yelling, "No, Hannah, no!"
Austin saw himself. He was walking towards a white, large building where 2 men awaited him inside. Once inside, he confronted the men and demanded the release of a prisoner they were currently holding captive. Oh, is that what you do to a prisoner? You hold them captive? But the men inside were stubborn and refused to obey his orders.
Violet and Austin's eyes flew back open. I just imagine, in old cartoons when they would, pull down the blinds,
yes!
And then they would just go... That's just what I imagine their eyes doing.
That's what their eyes are like close and then...
Their eyes flew back open as they released each other's hands. For a minute, neither of them could speak, too stunned at what they witnessed. After a long quiet minute, actually. Okay. After a long, quiet minute, Austin finally spoke.
I better go.
Yeah, Violet agreed. Gotta get to the next class. She stood up. It was nice meeting you, Austin.
Nice meeting you too, Violet. He touched her shoulder with his palm for a brief second. Just like touch.
Just like not even like caressing it, just like full on like palm.
Just palm.
Just like only palm on the shoulder.
Not doing the flirting thing where it's like you just touch their arm, but like I wish you could see what we were doing because it's pretty hilarious.
If she could blush, Violet would have as Austin touched her. Instead, she could only smile, feeling warm for the first time in 108 years.
Oh my gosh. Poor teenage vampires. Austin saw the happiness and warmth in her smile and grinned, flashing his pearl white smile her way.
Wait, you wrote flashing her pearl white smile?
Oh, I did! Oh no! He flashed her own smile back at her.
He just holds up a mirror.
Oh my god!
Smile at yourself.
Smile at yourself, dang it.
Or like those guys who are like, you should smile more.
You should smile more, Violet. So, grinning and flashing is something they do a lot. He then turned and exited the classroom.
Violet sighed.
Ah!
He completely takes my breath away, she thought. Though technically, I don't have any.
Then how are you sighing all the time?
Still, he's really sweet.
Gosh.
The final bell rang at 3 p.m. Violet stood outside the school under the cool shade of a tree so the sun wouldn't harm her. She was impatiently waiting for her sisters to emerge from the building. As she waited, conveniently, Violet saw Austin come outside. She became eager to talk to him and started to step forward, but then she stopped herself. Yes, she knew it was possible for her to stand in the sunlight for some amount of time without getting hurt, but she wasn't sure how much time she could stand it. If you've been alive for over 100 years, I feel like you should know that by now.
You probably should have it down. My gosh.
But she wanted to talk to Austin, too.
Suddenly, a car, a large, bright red Subaru, pulled up right next to the sidewalk. The window rolled down, and a girl called out,
Austin, come on. Grandpa Aaron wants us home, and we don't want to wait for you to walk. Violet groaned. Missed my chance, she thought, disappointed.
Suddenly, Austin turned around and saw Violet. Her face lit up, and she smiled and waved to him. He smiled back, his amazing white teeth glistening in the sunlight, and called, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, Violet replied. But her response was very quiet. Bye.
Okay, bye. Austin climbed into the red car, and it sped away.
Hey, bro, Hannah said, looking at Austin through her big brown sunglasses as he climbed into her car. How was your day?
Pretty good, Austin replied. And yours?
Same. Hannah took one hand off the steering wheel and fixed her long, shiny brown hair. Who was that you were saying bye to?
I'm remembering things as we're reading this story.
Really?
Like, I can picture in my head exactly what Hannah Montoya looks like.
Really?
Like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I remember exactly what she was supposed to look like. Just brown everything. You know, like brown hair, brown eyes, bronze skin. Oh, her? That was one of my friends?
Hannah looked at him and smiled. A friend?
Yeah, someone I met earlier.
Hannah knew for a fact there was more to it. She could tell when her twin brother was... Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
What?
I was thinking earlier of, like, why are they in the same school? Or, like, have the same schedule?
Oh, because they're twins?
Yeah,
yeah.
So they're the same age. But that makes sense. She could tell when her twin brother was lying, keeping something from her. Blah.
Was lying keeping something from her?
But she decided not to be nosy and dropped the subject. So, let's talk about our mission, Hannah said. Find any vamps today?
No.
What about that weird girl from earlier? Did you see her again?
Once. She was pretty normal to me. So, why did Grandpa Aaron want us back so soon?
He wanted to know how our mission went on the first day.
How disappointed he'll be when he finds out we didn't find anything.
I'm more worried about what Dad will think. He seems more obsessed with the idea than Grandpa.
Me too. Caleb Montoya, their father, was a very strict man. Even for a werewolf, he was extremely cruel. He detested vampires more than anything, because of course he did, and constantly sought a way to kill them, even though so far nobody had found a way to kill one. He could hardly stand the fact that Austin was half vampire, half werewolf. He seemed to prefer Hannah over Austin because she was full werewolf like he was.
Wait a second. How is Austin half werewolf, half vampire, when Hannah is his twin and she is full werewolf?
She's full werewolf.
How the hell does that work?
If he hates vampires so much, he obviously married, or at least impregnated, a vampire woman.
What?
Because how else would he get vampire genes? See,
but they're twins.
Yeah, and they're twins, which is
How does that happen? How does that work?
So, a couple of years ago, I tried writing another vampire werewolf story, and I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be better. So what I did was I made vampirism, like a bloodborne illness, like a disease. You're born with it and there's no cure. And then I made werewolf like a species, a race, a class of humans. So it's like, that would make more sense if he was like born a werewolf, but he also had the disease. Like if vampirism was genetic and it was just like a genetic mutation or something. So I'm like, that makes more sense. This doesn't.
If I didn't know, like, I would have said you would have ripped some of that idea from Skyrim. Because vampirism's a disease in Skyrim.
Nice.
You can also become a vampire. Okay, I'm just gonna nerd for just a second.
Nerd for a second.
But you can become a vampire from contracting a disease from them. But then you can also be a vampire lord if you help, like, the I think she's like a vampire princess or something. You save her from her, like, tomb, somehow resurrect her on accident.
Oops.
And then she just, like, it's like, take me to my home. And you're like, okay. And then you can become a vampire lord because you saved the dude's daughter. And he's just like, you are now a vampire lord. And you're like, okay. But, yeah, you can get vampirism as a disease. Or you can be a lord, which is better than being a regular vampire. But, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. So.
Austin was only half because of his vampire mother, who had strangely vanished a few years before. Why can't you be more like your sister? Caleb once snapped at Austin. Why do you have to be half of our greatest enemy? Maybe because you banged a vampire. Like,
literally.
Austin wasn't fond of his father at all, but he still respected him?
I wouldn't.
He sounds like a jerk. Hannah pulled into the driveway of their home. It was a huge house somewhere far away from other neighborhoods.
It's not even somewhere. It was a huge house somehow far away from other neighborhoods.
Somehow. Oh my gosh. I just expect myself to write things grammatically correct.
Obviously, you really didn't do that.
I didn't. 14-year-old.
Oh my gosh. The two hopped out and made their way inside.
I can't believe it. Not one freaking werewolf. Kara was angrily ranting to her sisters as they walked home.
Take it easy, Kara, Lily said. This is only the first day. Yeah, literally, like, what did you expect?
I know.
Eventually we'll find them and stop them before they start the war. You know, Violet said, what if our search gets us nowhere? What if we're looking around for no reason? We don't even know if the werewolves start the war.
We don't have to know, Kara said. We can assume. The werewolves are always causing trouble. There's little doubt they will start the upcoming war. Wow. That's racist somehow. Speciesist?
I mean...
Werewolfist?
I would say it's human nature to think that.
Ah. Bigotist. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if you just, like, think about the political climate, both sides think they're right and the other side is wrong, and they're not willing to, like, actually listen and change their mind.
Yeah.
Or even have a healthy discussion. It's just, I'm wrong, you're right. You're a terrible person if you don't believe the way I believe. Or think the way that I think.
Wow, this story was ahead of its time.
So, I think it's just I don't know what you would call it, just general, like, bias.
Yep.
So, because obviously the vampires wouldn't be the ones to start the war. True, Violet said. Still not completely sure. Her mind wasn't even focused on the matter right then. All she could think about was Austin. His blinding smile. His warm and slightly mysterious personality. His deep brown eyes.
Stop it.
You could practically get lost in. These things had taken Violet's mind over. Why did you phrase it like that? Like, the phrasing is just strange.
It's awful.
And she smiled.
This hurts.
What's on your mind, Violet? Lily asked. Or rather, who's on your mind? You know who's on my mind, Violet said, smiling. Why do you even ask? Just wondering. Violet's in love, Lily sang. Violet shoved her, but kept smiling.
She just shoves Lily
like,
into the pushes her in front of a car, an oncoming car. Like, what's gonna happen to you? You're a vampire. You're already dead.
For she knew Lily might have been right. This didn't feel like an ordinary crush or attraction at all. Violet felt a very strange drawing to Austin. She hardly knew him, yet she felt very close to him. You barely had a conversation. And then they had the weird vision thing. Are they just gonna ignore that happened entirely? They're like, we just touched and this thing happened, and then it was like, oh well.
Moving on. I gotta go, bye.
Okay, bye.
Kara and Lily had both experienced love. Both are married to strong, handsome vampire men. Kara's husband, William, was a serious, brave man who dedicated almost his entire existence to hunting, one of 3 positions a vampire could devote themselves to.
Okay.
The other 2 were protection and the army. A protector served their time looking after others and maintaining peace in their clan, and those in the army trained to fight if a war ever came up. Thank you for explaining. Lily's husband was Ryan, and he too was a strong guy. I'm glad they have no personality whatsoever. They're just strong. But he was rarely called in since no wars had taken place in a very long time. He's a part of the vampire army, and they're just like, you know what? There's no war going on. You can go home. Just sit there
and sit on your hands for a while.
Violet longed for a husband, but she wasn't desperate. She wanted the guy she loved to love her. Yeah. And want to provide for her, like Lily and Kara's husbands did for them. Her sisters had both found true love by waiting, and she decided to do the same thing. Waiting was hard sometimes, though. Finally, we're home, Kara said with a sigh of relief. I thought the sun would kill us before we got back.
Let's go talk to Katrina, Lily said. We have to tell her we didn't find anything today. The 3 entered their home. Their mother, Cassandra, was sitting in the living room when they came in. She rose from the couch upon seeing her daughters. Hello, Mom.
Hello, Mom.
The sisters said in unison.
That's creepy. Hello, Mom.
Hello, my daughters, Cassandra said. How was your day at school?
Long, Kara admitted.
And tiring, Lily added. And a bit boring, too, Violet said.
I'm sorry, and you know it feels a little weird Katrina sent you to track the werewolves down, doesn't it? The girls nodded. But we're still willing to obey, Kara said. Anything for Katrina. Cassandra smiled. So we have Kara, Katrina, and Cassandra. I hate that.
And then Violet and Lily.
And then Violet and Lily!
Is Katrina here, Mom? Violet asked.
Yes, she's up in her bedroom.
Thanks. The three headed up the stairs.
Katrina Kenneth wasn't a member of the Sang family. Oh, is that why you gave her a different last name? But she was so close to them, she might as well have been. She was a vampire, a bit older than the girls, but younger than Cassandra. Okay. She was gifted with a psychic power, because of course she was, and it often helped everyone out greatly. She was loved by everyone who knew her. I know, Alice Cullen. She was loved by everyone who knew her, and she adored the Sang family deeply. She had short black hair, she always had pulled back in a tight ponytail, and dark green eyes. Kara knocked on Katrina's door, and the sisters headed inside.
Hey, Katrina, Lily said.
Katrina had been sitting at the wooden desk in the dimly lit bedroom. Oh, that's so bad for your eyes. Upon seeing the girls, she cheerfully rose and walked over to greet them.
She what?
You what? Hi, girls, Katrina said, hugging her self-adopted daughters. I see you survived a day of high school.
Self-adopted daughters, but they have a mom. If anything, I feel like she would be more like an older sister.
Yeah, self-adopted sisters. I don't know.
What?
Self-adopted is stupid anyway. It'll take more than a few boring classes to stop us from completing our mission, Kara said. Katrina smiled. That's what I love to hear. Speaking of, what's the report for today?
Kind of a crappy one, Violet admitted, smiling.
She smiles a lot.
Yeah, Lily agreed. We didn't find any werewolves.
We had a few suspicions, but we didn't actually see any, Kara said. Katrina wasn't disappointed. That's okay. I didn't really expect something on the first day anyways. Nothing big, that is. Everyone heard the front door open and slam shut downstairs. Instantly, Kara and Lily knew it was their husbands coming home. You don't need a psychic to tell you your lovers await, Katrina said, laughing. Kara and Lily turned and opened the door to go downstairs and greet their husbands. But the boys used their great speed gifts to get upstairs first. Remember in the first Twilight when Edward was getting out of the car and he used his random speed to get to the other side to open the door for Bella? That's what came to my mind. They walked in the house and they were just like, okay, we're upstairs now. Oh my gosh, they were standing right outside.
Ryan! Lily exclaimed, wrapping her arms around Ryan's neck and kissing him. Ryan laughed and held her.
Hello, my love, William said, holding Kara in his arms and kissing her hair. Kara smiled.
I don't know why, but I kind of get what you're going for. He probably kissed her on the head where her hair was, but I just imagine him grabbing her hair and just being the long ends. Because that's romantic.
It's so romantic. He just takes a fistful of her hair. And
he's just like,
oh my gosh, that's canon. I wrote this. That's canon.
If there was a movie made about this, just be like, now do this.
Do this. Kiss her hair. Okay. No. I mean, literally, take her hair in your hands and smoochy smooch. Oh, gross.
So romantic.
No one saw the slight jealousy in Violet's eyes. How are you boys today? Katrina asked. Pretty good, Ryan said to his mother-in-law. What? Again, they have a mom.
Are they lesbian?
They might be lesbian. I just got back from a military meeting. They called me in this morning.
What for? Lily asked nervously.
Ryan looked at her and grinned. I imagine him going You don't need to worry, love. They just want the soldiers to be ready at all times in case we're needed for the war.
The war.
The war.
The war.
Well, I'm getting a bit hungry, William said. Would anyone like to join me on a hunt? I will, Kara agreed excitedly. That sounds great, Ryan said. I've gone through the whole day without feeding, so I'll join you. Hey, me too.
Then I'll go too, Lily said. William faced Violet.
Would you like to come too, beloved sister-in-law? He asked.
Violet shook her head. No thanks, she said. I'm not very hungry. Oh, come on, Vi, Lily said. It's not fun without you.
Actually, I need to talk to Violet for a minute, Katrina admitted. I can't remember what voice I was doing for her.
It was obnoxious.
Okay. All right, Kara said reluctantly. We'll be in the forest if you decide to join us.
Cool, Violet said. She watched her sisters and brother-in-laws exit the room.
Brother-in-laws. Not brothers-in-law. Brother-in-laws.
Oh, word.
Oh my god.
Then turned to face Katrina. What's up? She asked. They both sat on Katrina's little couch.
She has a couch in her bedroom?
I mean...
There was something in my vision earlier I forgot to mention to you girls.
It was
Katrina
like more
replied.
upbeat than that. It was like that voice, but like more...
There was something in my vision earlier I forgot to mention to you girls.
Oh, that's very close, yeah.
Thank you, Katrina replied.
Okay.
During the battle, well, I saw you, and you were standing with someone I didn't recognize. It was a boy. Kind of tall, thin, dark hair.
Violet realized Katrina was talking about Austin.
I was just wondering if you had any idea who the boy was, because I sure don't.
No, Violet responds.
Katrina was a tad suspicious. You sure?
Pretty darn.
It's pointless lying to a psychic. I'll figure it out. She grinned. They grin.
Violet laughed.
You're probably lying about it, but I won't nag. I don't want to be annoying. Bit too late for that.
Thanks, Kat. Violet thought for a minute and said, actually, there was something I wanted to ask you about.
Really? Do tell.
Violet sighed. You know that weird vampire prophecy about love?
Well, of course there's a prophecy. My God. There's a prophecy, of course. Katrina nodded.
Could you explain that to me? I never really got it.
Sure. It is said that at least once in every vampire's existence, they will find someone irresistible. Literally. That person is said to be their soulmate, their one true love.
The way you said love.
Love. Love.
Nice. Now, has any vampire ever fallen in love with a mortal?
Katrina's eyebrows rose. Well, I suppose it's not impossible, but I've never heard of it happening before. It's getting more and more obnoxious. This is my Katrina voice.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
How come?
I have a strange, curious side.
Katrina laughed. Oh, I believe that.
Who's that girl? You sound like you're trying to do a Jennifer Coolidge impression.
Oh my gosh. A horrible impression.
like not a good Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah,
that sounds like what you're going for.
Like, not a good one, mind you, but...
That's funny. Violet laughed. Well, thanks, Katrina.
They have laughed a lot during the scene. Not a problem. If you ever want to talk to me about anything, let me know. I'm pretty sure I can help. Somehow.
Violet nodded, then turned and left the room. You also sound like Lumpy Space Princess.
Oh my gosh.
From Adventure Time.
Did you ever play or watch a playthrough of Life is Strange?
Not a lot. Not the whole thing.
There's a character in it named Alyssa, and towards the end I think I sound exactly like her.
Okay.
So that's Hannah talking.
Oh. Don't worry. I'm sure it'll be okay. Hannah opened the door to their home, and she and Austin stepped inside. Grandpa! Hannah called. We're home.
Someone emerged from the kitchen to greet them. It was Caleb, not Aaron, to Austin's disappointment. Hello, Hannah.
Oh, don't sound like seductive.
Okay.
That's their dad.
I wasn't trying to sound seductive.
That's kind of that's just what it sounded like.
Okay. Hello, Hannah,
Oh my
Caleb
God.
said, giving his daughter a hug. Hannah hugged him back, but groaned to herself. She knew how her father felt about Austin, and she hated it when Caleb showed his love towards her, but only a little, if any, to her brother. He sounds like kind of a dweeb.
Hi, Dad, Hannah said.
How was your day?
It was okay, I guess.
Something happened?
No, not really. I just hate that school is all.
Caleb laughed. Then looked at Austin. Austin stared back. Hello, son, Caleb said, his voice emotionless. Hey, Dad, Austin said. Did you have a good day? Austin shrugged. It was alright.
I don't know how you managed to, like, it sounds like you're doing impressions, and that sounded like Guru.
Oh my gosh, Super Comic Hero!
Yeah, from Dragon Ball. From Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Did you find the filthy bloodsuckers? Caleb knew Austin hated it when he put vampires down, or hated them out loud, but he did it anyways, right in front of Austin. It showed how little care he had for his son's feelings. We get it, he's a terrible person. Austin wished his terrifying glare could work on other werewolves. He would have scared his father to insanity. The way he was staring him down right then. No. Well, then I suppose you'll do a better job tomorrow. Who knows? And it was silent for a long minute.
Where's Grandpa, Dad? Hannah asked in an attempt to break the awkward silence that rested in the room.
He's in his room, I believe, Caleb answered.
Can I be the grandpa?
Oh yeah, you can be the grandpa.
Okay, thanks. We need to go talk to him. Come on, Austin. Hannah grabbed Austin's arms and led him to the other side of the house where Aaron's room was. Grandpa? In here, children! Yes! Aaron replied from inside his room. Hannah opened the door and the two stepped inside. Aaron was standing by the door, waiting for his grandchildren to enter. He was currently in wolf form, which meant he had probably just come back from a hunt or a meeting with the werewolf committee.
There's a committee?
He snapped back to his human self and hugged Hannah and Austin tightly. Austin smiled. Aaron and Hannah were the only ones in this family who he truly loved and loved him. If his mother was still there, she would have taken good care of him and stood up for him against his cruel father, his vampire mom. And for some reason, the twin is not.
The twin is a
They're a continuity error.
My gosh.
Plot holes everywhere.
Plot holes everywhere.
But she had strangely disappeared years earlier, so he couldn't receive that love. But it didn't matter. The love from his sister and his grandfather filled the gap.
Who needs a mom when I have a sister and a grandpa?
Hello, kids! Aaron said.
Hey, Grandpa, Austin replied.
What's up, Grandpa, eh? Hannah asked. Nothing much. You wouldn't believe it. The committee came in and dragged me to their building as soon as you kids left this morning. They were desperate to know about last night's vision.
My favorite thing.
They flipped out over a vision of a marching army of vampires? Hannah asked. Aaron nodded. Those hysteric wolves flipped out on everything these days. Anyways, I tried to assure them what I saw wasn't a big deal, but they weren't convinced. They believed the vampires are preparing.
You're in New York all of a sudden. Preparing an army to attack the werewolves. Prepare an army to attack.
Preparing an army to attack the werewolves.
Why would they do that? Austin asked.
Hannah would have replied. Oh. Because there are enemies, but she had seen how hurt Austin was when Caleb had dissed the vampires, so she kept quiet. I'm not sure.
Yes!
Aaron replied. Maybe the werewolves. I'm losing it. Oh my gosh. Do something that threatens or upsets the vampires. So they feel...
I can't. I'm about to start crying.
So they feel the need to fight us. Or perhaps the werewolves realize something about the vampires that forces them to attack. I'm losing the accent. So the vampires have to build an army to defend themselves.
Oh my gosh.
I can't.
He's an Italian-American elderly vampire or werewolf living in New York.
Even though it sounds like you described these people as like being maybe like Native American.
I did, because I was ripping off Twilight.
It's fine.
That's amazing.
That's the best old man voice I have.
That's the greatest old man voice I've ever heard.
That's a good guess, Hannah said. By the way, earlier at school, we didn't find anything. Why was that a question?
Earlier at school?
We're not even sure if the vampires are there. There had to be a reason Westcliff...
I'm trying. I'm like, if I remain serious, he won't laugh, but it's not working.
Westcliff was in the background in my vision, though.
Oh my god.
Aaron pointed out. It wouldn't just be there for no reason.
Oh my god, I'm in tears. I'm in actual tears. Oh my gosh.
That school had something to do with this matter.
Sorry we didn't find anything, Grandpa.
Austin's voice has changed a lot. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, don't worry. That doesn't matter. I'm sorry I'm forcing you kids to attend school for no apparent reason.
For no apparent reason.
You know, I think I'm trying to think if I sound like someone. Oh, there's an abridged series for Code Geass.
Uh-huh.
And there's a guy, his name is Toto. He's like the head of the Japanese Liberation Front.
Mm-hmm.
And he sounds like the voice I'm using now.
Oh my gosh.
And I just realized, because I was like, this sounds familiar. There is a reason, Hannah said, to seek those bloodsuckers out. Austin looked at her, pain in his eyes.
Just looks over like,
Oh, I'm sorry, Hannah exclaimed, wrapping her arms around Austin. I meant vampires. I'm sorry, Austin.
Austin smiled. That's okay.
We don't mind going to that school, Hannah said. Really, it's not all that fun, but some things are pretty cool about it.
Like Violet, Austin thought. As long as I go to Westcliff, I get to see her.
Aaron smiled. You kids are truly amazing, he said. So obedient, so kind.
Yep, that's us, Austin said with a laugh.
Ugh, Hannah said. I'm starving. I'm craving some delicious meat.
Okay.
She put her head down, then suddenly lashed it back, transforming into her light brown, long fur werewolf form. Want to join me on a hunt, Austin?
Sure, Austin said. That sounds good.
I'll see you kids later then, Aaron said. You doing okay now? Hannah asked as they exited the room.
What? Austin asked.
This morning you were acting all quiet. Now you seem to be better.
Yeah, I really am. Austin smiled. He still felt really awesome. A lot better than he did earlier.
He felt really awesome.
As we established earlier. You were doing bad earlier, now you're doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. Better than I was earlier. Like, what the heck? He wasn't freaked out about Violet, and he didn't have to ignore her and pretend she was nothing. In fact, he couldn't wait to see her again.
Yeah.
Austin lashed back and transformed into his sister along...
He transformed into his sister.
What is this, your dream? We'll do an episode in a few weeks reading the most hilarious and random of our dreams. I can't wait for that one. He transformed into a werewolf alongside his sister. Transformed into his sister. Let's go get some meat, he said.
Racia, Hannah cried. Racia! And she took off down the hallway towards the front door. In your wolf form?
That sounds inconvenient. No fair, Austin exclaimed, racing after her and laughing. Ha 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 ha. As he ran, he passed by the kitchen where his father was standing in the doorway staring at him. Austin stopped and stared back. Caleb then chuckled and said, "That's my boy. That's my werewolf son." Ew. Austin smiled. Although he preferred his vampire traits over his werewolf traits, he still liked to impress his father with his wolfish side. "Bye," Austin said, and he kept running.
Later that evening, Violet heard her sisters and their husbands returning home from their hunt. She walked downstairs to greet them.
"That was fun," Kara said. "I loved the way you nearly killed yourself." I loved the way you nearly killed yourself in an attempt to take that deer out, William. Good Lord. William shrugged. The sucker wouldn't go down. I had to take drastic measures.
I'm sorry you had to miss the hunt, Violet, Lily said. That's all right. I wasn't hungry anyways, Violet said.
Lily, you have something on your lips, Ryan said. Some leftover blood. Lily went to wipe the blood off when Ryan said, "I got it." He kissed her passionately. On the lips.
Oh.
As opposed to her hair.
Violet had to look away.
Yeah, I would have too. "Hello, kids," Cassandra said, coming into the living room. "You just go hunting?" "Yes," William said. "You've got quite an impressive daughter, Cassandra. She's a better hunter than anyone I know." "Thanks," Ryan said.
What?
What?
Wait.
What?
What?
"Thanks," Ryan said, rolling his eyes with a sly smile. "Is Ryan a daughter? What?"
I'm so confused by what just happened.
Cassandra laughed, because I would have too. "Do you guys have any plans for this evening?"
I don't think so, Lily said, looking at Ryan.
"I think we'll just have a nice, quiet evening at home," Ryan said, wrapping an arm around his wife.
Sounds good to me, Lily said cheerfully.
Bow, bow, wow.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay, they're married. "Same here," Kara said. She looked up at William. "You want to just spend some time alone in our room?" "Sounds good," William answered.
Guess I'll do the same thing. You're gonna spend time in their room with them? Yeah. That's just like the way that the sentence is phrased.
Yeah, like, I'll do the same thing. Which bedroom?
Well, Vi, you don't have to exclude yourself. Why don't you hang out with Ryan and I tonight?
Ew. We'll never mind spending time with you, sister, Ryan added.
No thanks. You guys deserve your alone time.
She's just the queen of rebellion, isn't she?
Is this really rebellion?
It is not. I would politely decline as well. Kara asked, laughing. Violet smirked.
Love you too, Kara, Violet said.
Let's head on up, Lily, Ryan said, grasping Lily's hand. She giggled, and the two descended upstairs.
Descended upstairs?
Descended upstairs!
Descended is down!
Ascend And descend.
Ascended upstairs. Makes sense. Descended down upstairs does not make sense.
Maybe they just walked on their hands. Upside down.
I don't know.
Let's do the same, William said. All right, Kara said. She and William began to walk upstairs as well.
Violet watched them for a minute, then hastily followed them. Hey, Kara, she said before Kara entered her and William's bedroom. Kara turned around.
So even though they're all married, they live in the same house.
Apparently.
Just like Twilight.
Oh, legit.
What's up, Violet? She asked.
I just wanted to ask you something.
Sure, no problem.
Violet led her down the hall so their conversation could be private. When you first saw William, did you know you were in love with him? Like, did you know he was your soulmate?
Kara thought for a minute, then replied, as a matter of fact, yes! When I met him on that hunting trip, my first thought was, wow, what a guy. I wish we could be together. There were some doubting thoughts, such as, oh, he'll never like a girl like me. And, oh, he's so charming, he's probably too good for me. Yay, self-esteem issues. Projecting myself again. But once you learn to push those aside and chase what you know is worth it, it's beautiful and definitely has good results in the end. I don't like that advice at all.
I see. Did Lily and Ryan end up the same way?
I don't think Lily did. Ryan was the one who first liked her, if I'm correct. She thought it was flattering, but she never really returned the feelings. Eventually, she realized she really did love him, so it's different for everybody.
Ah.
How come? A small grin came to Kara's face.
Violet grinned. Curiosity?
Don't give me that crap, Vi. Are you in love? Did you find someone? You know who she found.
Did they not talk about this earlier?
They didn't. They took turns looking at him.
Well, maybe. I talked to Cretina. Well, maybe. I talked to Katrina earlier, and she said that it might be possible for a vampire to fall in love with a mortal.
Why is it always that? ... A mortal. I've never heard that before.
That's what Katrina said.
But I guess it's not impossible.
That's also what she said.
If you want my advice, I say go after it. But only if you know if it's what you truly want. Only if you know if it's what you truly want. Okay. If you spend time chasing after something you're unsure of, what could happen in the end? Only pain, regrets, and a load of wasted time.
I'll do that. Thanks, Kara.
No problem. Kara turned around, but before heading into her room, she called to Violet, if you and Austin end up getting married, I get dibs on the bridesmaid position.
Violet laughed. I'll keep that in mind. She then turned and headed down the hallway to her bedroom. And that's the end of it.
Yep. I didn't write any more. And if I did, I didn't convert it from written script to printed text. From that purple notebook, wherever it is now. Probably at the bottom of a trash bin somewhere. A heaping pile of garbage, much like this story.
Yeah, that was not good.
No, that was not good. I know that I wasn't a great writer in high school, but my gosh, that was particularly bad.
That was fun, though, just to do, like, the voices.
That was a blast. I love how you turned into an Italian mobster.
You were Super Kami Guru.
I was Super Kami Guru. That was a lot of fun. I loved doing that. All right, let's wrap this up so I can go eat.
Okay. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this reading of one of Marianne's old stories from when she was in high school. Feel free to roast it because
roast the crap out of it.
It's pretty awful.
It deserves it. I'm not claiming this at all.
Anyway, yeah, we'll see you all in the next one. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I started editing my video from like a month ago.
Hooray!
Or I started continuing the process. Anyway, Yeah, if you want to go and listen to any of our other episodes, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and we also post these to YouTube. If you feel so inclined, you can also rate us 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I also figured out there's a questions feature that you can add to Spotify. So if you just click on the episode, go into it, then it'll pop up with the question. So if you are listening on Spotify and you have a question, go to our last episode and where we talk about depression and leave an answer to the question asked there. We might try and do weekly questions and then do a little segment in the episode after that.
Nice.
So
I like that.
Cool. All right. Well, we will see you all next week. Mwah.
Mwah.